Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Talks with Gerald. I am your host, Gerald, and so excited to be with you. Today's podcast is one of my favorite topics, which is how do I find my purpose? How do I find my purpose? It's a really good question, right? And I'm going to give you today some practical tips for you to find your purpose. Because I found my purpose around 10, 11 years ago, and it shifted, actually. I started teaching professional tennis probably around 11, 12 years ago. And that was my purpose for quite some time. And sports and athleticism has always been in my DNA, my genes. I played football as a young kid in Texas, and so that's always been, really near and dear to me. So that was my purpose, right? Is getting out there and getting on the tennis court and playing to the max and seeing what I'm really built of, seeing mentally the fortitude, the physical abilities, etc., seeing what I have in me, right? So that was my purpose. So today I'm going to give you 5 practical tips that you can use to find your purpose, right? Number 1, because this is what I've used, right? And by the way, everything that I share with you is not how I personally feel. It's about what's right and what will work for you. I'm not married to any set of ideals or beliefs that aren't serving myself or the greater good. So I'm never going to tell you something that hasn't been tried, tested, and proved. All right. So the first thing, right, is what are 1 to 5 things that I'm actually curious about, right? This is how I figured out my purpose. I was like, okay, what would I like to know more about? Is it, would I like to know more about skiing or mountain biking or being a firefighter or volunteering, for for fortunate people in different countries? Like, what is something that I'm really curious about? It could be painting, right? It could be right now, it could be do-it-yourself stuff, right? Right now, I'm visiting a friend, and she loves kind of like a do-it-yourself type of. What are you curious about? What would you like to know more about, right? And write down, let's say 1 to 3 things that I want to know more about taking pictures. I want to know more about something, whatever your thing, what are you curious about, right? 3 things, and write that down. That's the first thing you can do on finding out what your purpose is. What am I curious about, and what do I want to know more about, right? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, what would you do if nobody paid you? I love that question. I asked somebody that last night. I said, do you love your job, and do you love what you do? And she said, yeah, I love what I do. I said, okay, cool. She didn't see the question coming, though, of course, right? Then I said, would you do it if they didn't pay you? And she said, no, I wouldn't. I said, but I am passionate about my job. I do love what I do. I'm like, no, you love what you do. You don't love your job. Meaning, like, where you go to do your thing at, you don't like that place. She's like, yeah, right? So what would you do if no one paid you? Like, what would you show up for every day in life if no one paid you? For me, getting out on the tennis court 10 years ago, if you didn't pay me to go out to go play tennis for 2 hours, I wouldn't have cared, because I had fun for 2 hours playing tennis, even if you didn't pay me. So teaching you how to play tennis for 2 hours, I would love it, because I'll have someone to play with by the time I'm finished. Right? The other part is, I'm actually doing the thing, right? I'm not just teaching, right? I'm actually doing the thing, right? So what are 2 or 3 things that you're curious about? First thing, to find your purpose. The second thing is, out of those 2 or 3 things that I'm curious about, right? What out of those 2 or 3 things would I do if nobody paid me? Right? And because that's how you know if you're really serious about something. If you would do it, if there's no monetary value attached to it, that's how passionate you are about something. So that's the second thing you could do to kind of pinpoint and locate your purpose. All right, number 3, look out in the world and see, what does the world need more of? What's happening in the world that's like, you know what? I really could help there. For me personally, I have an affinity for feeding the homeless, right? Back, probably like maybe 7 to 8 years ago, I started this thing where on Thanksgiving, right? I would go and get companies to donate plates and things for me to use. I would go to these restaurants and tell them, hey, for Thanksgiving, I'm going to make a meal out of my home, which is what I would do every Thanksgiving. I didn't do it last year, but I would go and make a meal out of my kitchen. I would go and get people to donate, different companies to donate their supplies towards what I was doing. Is I'd let them know, and they said, "Yeah, of course we want to help." But they wouldn't give people food, but they're like, "Hey, I'm going to give you stuff to help what you're doing." Perfect, right? So I would get the plates together, make the plates in my kitchen, fill my car up on Thanksgiving, and before I ate for the day, right? Because there's not a Thanksgiving that I've lived in America where I didn't have Thanksgiving dinner. There's never been a moment where I didn't have anything to eat on Thanksgiving. So 7 or 8 years ago, I made a plea with myself and said, you're not going to sit down in the kitchen and eat a drop of food until you go make sure someone else is going to eat today. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, for me, that was my thing, right? Where does the world need help? How can you help, right? That's the third thing that you can do to find your purpose, right? Where in the world is help needed? Where are things lacking? Where can I contribute the most? Where is there a hole that needs to be filled, right? That's the third thing that you could do to find your purpose. And the fourth thing, ask others. This is really good too. So you can ask others, what are you really good at? It's the funniest thing. Oh, there we go. Lights back. I don't know what happened there. It's the funniest thing. Like, people that are close to us know what we're really good at, and they know what we're not really good at. So if you want to know, if you want to know maybe what you can point to is finding out like what your purpose is, ask your friends, ask your family. Say, hey, what am I good at? Like, what do you see in my life to where, year after year, day after day, I'm really good at that. I can make you laugh. I cook great food. I am an efficient organizer. You ask people around you, what do I excel at? What am I good at? Right? Because that's not how you're gonna know exactly, right? But this is gonna point you in a general direction where you can be like, oh, okay, well, I am really good at organizing. Maybe I could start an organization company. You're right. Well, maybe I am really good at cooking. I do have that great recipe for brownies. I could take that to the farmer's market. Huh. Wow. All because you asked people. You were curious about your own life. You're not scared to ask. You're not scared about what people think and see about you. Now you're curious. Hey, family, friends, coworkers, what am I good at? Be curious about your life now. What do you see me adding value to? Right? That's the fourth thing that you can do to find out what your purpose is. And the fifth thing you can do is ask yourself, man, what do I do? What do I do naturally? What am I really good at naturally? Like I'm a really great singer, or I naturally excel at putting things together, or I'm a great herbalist. I don't know how I know how to blend things together. I'm a great piano, I don't know, right? Carpenter. What do you naturally just do really well, like better than most people, right? So these are some tips, right? go back to the first thing. What am I curious about? Number one, we're going to go through those 5 again real quick, okay? Number one, what am I curious about? How do I find my purpose in life? Number one, what am I curious about, right? Number 2, what would I do if no one paid me? Number 3, look out and see where the world needs help and go help, right? That's how you can find a great purpose for yourself. Number 4, ask people, what am I really, really good at? And number 5, and this is the most easiest thing for you to do to find your purpose, is to ask yourself, no one else, what am I naturally good at? What do I just naturally excel at, right? Because that's going to tell you where your purpose could lie, right? Or could be. So again, these are 5 really basic, elementary, rudimentary things, and hopefully you've written these down. Hopefully you've gotten a pen and wrote down the 5 things, right, on how to find my purpose, right? Because this is really important. Where you will, and on this next episode, we're going to be talking about purpose versus, are you ready? Passion. The next episode is going to be purpose versus passion. What's the difference? They both start with P, but they're not the same, right? They're similar. They're like cousins, right? Purpose and passion. So that's going to be the next. So really stay tuned there. So right now, you are going to find out what your purpose is, because it's really hard. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but it's really hard to go deep in on a purpose if you're not passionate about it. Oh, here we go. Not today, not right now. On the next episode, we're going to talk about passion versus purpose, right? But these are 5 things that you can utilize, 5 golden rules to finding your purpose, right? What am I naturally good at? Where do people in the world need help? Ask my friends, what do I do really well? And be curious and ask yourself, what would I do if no one even paid me, right? So follow and subscribe. Love to hear your reviews. And also, if you have something that you'd like for me to talk about, a guest that you'd like to have me on the podcast, and have me talk to them about different topics, let me know. Send questions and reviews in Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. And again, this isn't going to be on YouTube. Yeah, this is on YouTube as well. So go to the YouTube channel, GeraldFears, and you can watch this podcast that I am doing for you guys on YouTube. And my lighting just threw. I got to figure out what that is. So my lighting just is doing some weird stuff. But yeah, anywho, so continue to follow the podcast, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We're everywhere, baby. Until next time, stay purposeful, okay? Namaste. I'll see you guys soon.